Yes, I think what we'll do then is we'll get into the next mission.
We will, but right after a short name that game based on a bad synopsis, Tomahawk.
Let's do it.
Your bad synopsis this week, see if you can get it before Luvva, is you wake up in a lab, dinosaurs are loose, everything is green, and someone keeps shouting about energy levels.
Is it Dino Crisis? Hi everybody and welcome to Season 5, Episode 3 of the High Scores High Stakes podcast, the podcast where we spend most of our time on fire, but we get rallied with a little pat on the back. I am your host, sometimes Tomahawk, and with me today is my co-host.
It's me. Luvva, you sound a bit funny this week.
I'm a little bit hoarse. I'm getting off the back of a cold here. Yes, Luvva can't be here today. Back-to-back weeks, he's refusing to want to talk about FBC Firebreak.
Coincidence? Correlation? Who knows?
Who knows? Good to have you back in, Cardinal. How are we keeping, good sir?
We're doing super. Thank you very much. How are you?
Good. We are back. It is another Monday. It is another challenge episode. We've had our schedule skew a little bit, but we are back in a normal, running, efficient ship. But we need to do some housekeeping, Cardinal, before we get into FBC Firebreak. So
tell me about it.
If this is your first episode, welcome in. If this is your 116th episode, you may want to skip forward about 30 seconds or so. So we here at High Scores High Stakes are three friends with three PlayStations playing 12 gaming challenges. Winner getting 3 points, second place getting 2 points, and third place getting 1 point. At the end of the regulation season of 12 weeks, the winner with the most points goes home with the coveted High Scores High Stakes Cup.
Oh my goodness, there it is.
By me this season. It's a wonderful sight to see. When we're not in regulation season, we go into our side quest series, and with that we usually just talk anything and everything gaming, be it conferences, funny lists, drafts, or game show parodies. And then the last Monday of every month, typically we do our Game of the Month series where we pick a game and we deep dive that game. I'm trying to think of what else we need to do for the housekeeping now today, Cardinal. I think the only other thing I can think of is direct everybody to highscoreshighstakes.com, where you can get everywhere we are on the internet. If the little 60 minutes, 70 minutes is not enough High Scores High Stakes content for your week, I think we are pretty locked in. I think that is it, done and dusted then. So as speedy as that appeared, we're going to leave that in the dust. And Cardinal Smith, what I'm going to do is going to move swiftly on here, and I'm going to ask you, what are you playing?
Oh, nice one, Tomahawk. It's like the Resident Evil characters in the room with us here. This week I have been playing a co-op game called Void Crew. Okay, again, Void Crew is you are in a spaceship and everyone has a role to play. Somebody's an engineer, somebody's a pilot, somebody's a gunner, and you'll have your own roles. You have to play out your roles to work together. You have to work together, otherwise you just blow up. Or get shot out of the sky.
Otherwise, and like the mechanics fail as a game if you're not pulling your weight as such.
Yes, and it is actually fun. I really hope it comes to PlayStation. If I'm honest, it actually is not too shabby at all.
Is it 3-player or 4-player co-op? Because given we're going to be playing Firebreak and talking about that in some depth, I think. 3 players. Oh, it's 4 players.
It's 4.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. You don't usually see that these days anymore. It's now it's condensed into this 3-player system, but that's quite cool to hear that it is a 4-player. Maybe if it does ever come to PlayStation, we can rope in Mr. John Sherry, I think.
Sherry.
Alumni.
And I tried not to mention any Final Fantasies because I'm still getting through Rebirth. But Tomahawk, please tell me, what are you playing?
I've been playing Firebreak We've been
Oh,
Firebreak heavy this last fortnight, covering it for Game of the Month and covering it for this challenge episode as well. I've been playing in a couple of other bits just to kind of cleanse the palate in between. I started playing and completed Alone in the Dark, the 2024 remake remaster of the original Alone in the Dark from the early 90s. It
nice.
was how I can describe as the most B tier game I think I've ever played. It's just kind of has this moody, eerie, spooky vibe the whole way through it. And then kind of just decides at the very end, no, we're going to abscond from that and we're going to go into creepy voodoo and you're going to fight a giant tree. And that's the end of the game. Spoiler alert for anyone who wants to play that game. It's mid at best.
B's not bad, right?
Like, I won't go back and do multiple endings. And I certainly won't go back and play a second character, to which, like, so you get the idea that I can't remember their names. This is how great this game is. I remember it's Jodie Comer or it's David Harbour. So you'll know Jodie Comer from Killing Eve and you'll know David Harbour as the cop from Stranger Things. He plays a cop in this as well. He's quite a forgettable character because he appears in chapter 1, disappears until chapter 4, and then you have like a brief interaction with him, and then you disappear. He disappears again until the end of the game. It's not his story. It's all about Jodie Comer's character and her like uncle and finding what's going on there. So like I can't see how playing him as the main character is going to fit or work as a narrative piece. But there we are. It's very condensed and critical piece on Alone in the Dark. But there are parts that I really did enjoy, but they're so overshadowed by the bad and the
Well,
drastically forgettable.
well, at least you beat that tree, I guess.
Did eventually. It was one of those ones where I was playing it on stream and I was just getting absolutely walloped by it. And it was just that moment where it's like, do I pack it in and pick it up on a next stream, even though I know it's the final boss? And I knew that rightly that would be the shortest stream on Earth because I would boot it up, beat the boss in one go, and then be done in 5 minutes. So glad I've played it, but equally glad that I get to move on to something else because Death Stranding 2 is out, and that is the one game that I think I've got really, really, really excited to play. So who knows? Who knows? We might discuss that next week in some detail.
That is exciting. That has just come out. And I know some of our listeners are very excited to play that.
Big into it. I've seen a lot of early access players on it at the minute, and I'm just like, it's the mute button has been real this last couple of days now. I just want to avoid everything narrative and everything like story beats. I just want to get into it and immerse myself as intended. So yeah,
fair.
That's all. That's what I've been playing this week, I should say.
Absolutely reasonable.
But we don't care what we've been individually. What we want to be talking about is what we've been playing as a collective. We touched on it last week. We're going to touch on it again this week. It is the Federal Bureau of Control Firebreak, the first-person, 3-player co-op shooter from Remedy, taking place in the Control universe. So we'll take a quick break and we will blast through the challenge, we'll blast through the parameters, and we will get a bit of gameplay watched, shall we, Cardinal?
Why not?
Perfect. Let's do it. So, yes, FBC Firebreak. This was one of those games that we picked. Everyone kind of picked up day one on PlayStation Plus or Game Pass if you're that way inclined. And the general premise of the game is you are 3 first responders working for the Federal Bureau of Control, volunteer first responders, I should say, assigned to deal with a few little altering world events within the Bureau of Control, and it is just a bonkers first-person shooter. Cardinal, I think you'll back me up on that one.
It was bonkers. This was my first experience of anything Control related.
Beautiful. I was about to ask is like what your sort of experience would be with like Remedy as a developer, as a publisher, as a gaming experience, but pretty much going in.
I don't know if I've ever played a Remedy game. I don't know.
So we discussed this like in a little bit of depth in the Game of the Month episode. As I say, it takes place in the Control universe. So after the events of the game Control have taken place, everything is kind of trying to maintain a status quo within the Bureau. The main bad guys, the Hiss, have kind of run rampant throughout certain departments, and it is the Firebreak team. It's their job to kind of repel and maintain the status quo within the bureau. That is kind of like the background and premise of it. It is quite dense.
There's the lore.
I feel as if there is a lot of lore that doesn't get explained, but we will get into some of our thoughts as we progress on this. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be taking on 3 jobs. We're going to be taking on, if I remember correctly, the damage control job. We're going to be taking on the paper chase job, and we're going to be finishing off with the hot fix job. We're going to be doing all of these at clearance level 1, so we're only going to be doing the first room. And we're going to be scored overall with the most damage dealt in a 3 points, 2 points, 1 point. And a bonus point is going to be handed out for the person who can accumulate the most revives across the 3 jobs then.
Nice.
As it stands, and I didn't do this in the earlier section, and so after our first 2 challenges, then the league table's looking like this. In first place, we have Mr. Luvva. He's the first person to hit double digits. He is on 10 points. Cardinal Smith, yourself sitting in second, you're on 2 points. And myself, after my stuttering start, sitting in third place.
Sorry, 2 points? I'm on 2 points?
Oh, on second place on 8 points. Sorry, I should say you're 2 points behind. 2 points behind. Thank you.
Tomahawk, are you trying to rig the league again? Just can't escape those
that or
rumors.
I can't read. That or I can't read today. So yes, so we're sitting Luvva 10, Cardinal Smith on 8, Tomahawk on 4. So a little bit for me, a little bit of catch up needed for me today. But this is a game I'm kind of feeling a little bit confident on. I've spent actively the most time on this game since day one. So I think, Cardinal, what we should do is we'll have a quick look at the gameplay. We'll sort of talk about it as we go through, and we'll deep dive this as we go.
And, it feels like a natural choice for us to pick this. It's a 3-player co-op game in the middle of our Season 5, free on PS Plus. In we go.
Too right. So here we are. This is the first round as such that we're going to go and watch here. Now, this is the ground control job. So the main premise of this, Cardinal, if you want to hit play, we'll just dissect this as we go. The main job on this one is to collect leech eggs and put them into a mining cart.
Right.
It's pretty simple, right?
Absolutely.
Now, as we discussed on Game of the Month, Cardinal, this would have been news to you. Each of the players have there's 3 different kits or classes that you can have. You can have a jump kit, which basically electrically charges equipment and machinery and stuff. You have a splash kit, which is pretty much used to stop people being on fire, and then we have the fix kit, which is just the wrench, which is anything that is broken down. It is that player's job and responsibility to go and fix that then. And immediately, we've set this on the harder difficulty, and immediately we've had a big horde spawn in front of us, and they're all on fire and all exploding.
Yes. And I'm rocking about with this big weapon, and I think I'm wondering why I'm not doing any damage or what I'm supposed to be doing. And here we are jumping into a shower together.
This is it. It's one of those ones that we were pretty much explaining everything on the fly as it was happening. Now, the game defaults you to the wrench, the water cannon, or the shock pad. But realistically, at these lower levels, they don't do an awful lot of damage, and you feel as if it's it was the main selling point of this game in the trailers and whatnot. And it's the main mechanism for navigating through the world. But they don't do an awful lot of damage, especially in these early door levels. And I had to do a lot of nerfing to kind of make this as level a playing field as humanly possible. But I've started off with the splash kit, and I think immediately all of our objectives are now on fire.
Excellent. I'm glad somebody knows what the objectives are. This is good news.
It very much was giving me Back for Blood vibes, with a little bit, especially later on when we look at hotfix. It really reminded me of the excursions in Division. Just little notes of, but yeah, we're basically working through the RNG of the hiss. They seem to come in incremental waves and timed intervals, and you always, the big telltale sign is when they portion of the room just starts to glow red, and then you know that they're going to spawn in at any moment. Then,
And I'm wondering what on earth is going on. There's people flying about in chairs. Um, that's fine. You're shooting things on a wall.
Yeah, it's one of those games that, like, if you aren't familiar with Control, if you aren't familiar with Remedy, it very much is going to feel lost on you. And Remedy's big pitch on this was, this is a highly accessible 3-person shooter, and you could just pick up and go, and you don't have to be immersed in the lore. But if you're not immersed in the lore, or you aren't aware of, like, the universe in which you're playing the game in, this is all completely lost on you. You may as well just be in a random generic shooter, if that makes sense.
Well, I was treating it as such. You guys were telling me or coaching me through, okay, we're going to push this thing, your weapon power stuff. I didn't know what that stuff did, but eventually got to the point where, I've got a machine gun. I'll shoot the things with the machine gun, and here we are.
Exactly.
Here's another horde. We're shooting stuff.
Well, this is it. Like, the hordes are not too intelligent. I know one of Luvva's major comments on this game is that the AI was too fine. It just was a bit garbage, to be honest. If you weren't really engaging with them, they wouldn't engage with you in certain aspects, whether or not that was some sort of bug or anything like that. But Luvva found that there was an awful lot of nothing happening.
I just noticed the reloading technique, or get stockpiling ammo, because you run out of ammo.
Yeah, it's like an absolute smash and grab. So anyone who's watching the video, you'll see that it's basically like a quick time event between the left bumper, right bumper, and you are basically grabbing. But I only noticed that they're just looking at Luvva's screen is that it's individual. So every button you press is an individual piece of ammo, or an individual grenade item, or an individual. Yeah, it's you're lifting things one at a time, basically. So it feels like there's a sense of urgency, and it's the same if you're not proficient in a tool or in an item or something like that. So if you're using the splash kit but you want to repair machinery, you have to do the mini game. Or if you want to extinguish fire and you don't have the splash kit, you have to, like, manually pat the flames out. And it just takes so much time. It takes so much time out of the game, and it slows everything way, way down, especially when, as it's happening now, we're just being bombarded with more hiss.
We are indeed. Tomahawk, what is this gun? Oh, you're done.
Oh, yes, that is me downed. Yes, like, that's what I'm saying. If you're not paying attention, like, you get jumped pretty quickly. And what's handy, the only thing that I would say the saving grace is, and Luvva's down there as well, so we're waiting on Cardinal Smith to come in and save the day. Which I think what I've done is I've just decided to redeploy. It has that Helldivers mechanic of you have so many backups, which is quite nice. But
we were heavily
outnumbered. This is it. It's that similar vibe with Back for Blood, where you have, like, the halfway houses, like the safe points. That way you can restock and redivide, and then that basically sets you up for a redeploy rather than carting you all the way back to the very start of the level, especially when you get to the higher clearance levels and you're like 3 zones deep. These little safe stations do help, negate the slog of having to navigate an entire map now. So Luvva is downed again, and he's back with one of the big heavy brutes at this stage. Now the big armored tank characters. And again,
I tried Cardinal, to help him, but I was out of ammo.
You're back with the smash and grab on the ammo mini game. These guys are hard work because they don't take any damage from the front. It is everything has to be taken from. They have the protruding character.
Protruding what?
The protruding character out of their back.
Nice.
So as it stands, we're just basically the objective has stalled, to say the least. We are just dealing with enemies upon enemies at this stage now. So I think at these early stages, it's like these leech eggs that we have to collect is 15 or so. And it's quite a large space to navigate, and there's no real markers as to where they appear. They'll just appear on everything, all the surfaces that you shoot. So I found that sometimes the game lacked a little bit of direction with the objectives, and you were kind of just left to figure it out, if that makes sense.
Yes, I don't know if you've seen in my footage, but I spent about a minute during this time looking at a marker on a box, and I didn't know why it was there. And I shot the box and hit the box. But I see one of these eggs now. I picked it up. I'm following the example of my co-hosts, and it seems to damage your health as you carry it,
Oh yes.
which
So the
is
one thing that is really funny about the bureau is that everything in within the bureau is designed to kill you or be a hindrance on your life. So these leech eggs are radioactive and will have this radiation damage linger. And it's the same kind of the fire damage works. It's like unless you go to the chemical shower to like decontaminate and replenish health, that will just gradually deplete your health throughout, or like is a natural sort of debuff to your own health and armor situation. Like so,
excellent.
these ammo stations, these shower stations, just help ease the process really. And
And
then we've
and then there's this train cart thing that we have to push.
so I'm laughing at this now because I realized I've played this on like the clearance level 3. So each level, the door opens and you go into the next zone. We've completed the objective, so now we've been told that we can extract. So I've called
Have
the
we?
elevator. Yes, so this is the laugh now. If you're on clearance level 3, you have to you have to take the cart to the next room, collect more leech eggs, and then take it to the third room, and then you have to insert the cart into like a rocket and then defend the launch site. So in clearance level 1, you only have to do the first batch of leech eggs and then just leave. So you don't actually necessarily have to push the cart anywhere, which is kind of like
Okay.
it sort of defeats the purpose of what you're doing in the grand scheme of things. But we have completed the objective, and the first thing we're told to do is extract. Just call the elevator, and then what's really nice is what I originally thought was a countdown timer for just to wait out is actually an enemy counter. So I noticed at one point it was just climbing and climbing and climbing, and at some point we had like 150 enemies to clear out. So that the counter is like these are the enemies you have to kill
What?
before you can actually before the elevator will let you extract. If that makes sense. And then you also have to deal with the powerful enemy of, in this instance, Stuart Chen.
Big old Stuart. I would. And let me just say for anyone not watching, Tomahawk and Luvva are running around not picking me up as I am downed for a good solid minute there.
I can't tell if we got into the spirit of the challenge or just thought, well, if we're killing enemies and Cardinal's not taking additional damage, he's okay. But
He's
yeah,
fine.
I think we kind of
And the
got
same can
caught
be
up.
said. Tomahawk's down now himself, and he's had to reset.
Sometimes it's quicker to just redeploy than it would be to be revived because again, this game sort of suffers from the early level grind is such a grind to get the higher level equipment. Some of the higher level equipment are like permanent additions to your weapons. Like I have on my water cannon, I have an option to put like a teapot on. The teapot comes to the boil, and you can shoot boiling water at the enemies, and they'll do like fire damage. But for this being bare bones for the challenge, everything had to be level playing field, so it was never used in my instance.
Okay.
But we are. I think we've just basically set a last stand for as well. I think the elevator is actually there, and we're now just going. Well, let's see how many kills more we can bag before we just book it, because the lift is right there for us to get on.
And there's another wave of enemies. I'm out of ammo. I think Luvva was down there or Tomahawk. Splashing around.
Like what is so good about this is like the sort of mundane task of getting these leech eggs or destroying the paper notes or the sticky notes that we'll see in the next video. The music's kind of a little bit humdrum and whatever. It just feels like a regular task. The second you've completed it, this like guitar riff kicks in and everything just feels a little bit more high octane. Everything just feels a little bit more full of fret. And we've got this heavy enemy that is sitting nearby, but the lift door in this instance has closed.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
we have contained the hiss in ground control. So that is that done and dusted there. So just a quick look at the score. So we are scoring this on damage and revives. So Mr. Luvva ended up with 81.22k worth of damage. I ended up on 125,952k worth of damage, and Cardinal Smith lagging behind slightly at 33,600k worth of damage. I finished that with 4 revives, Luvva on 2 revives, and Cardinal yourself on the 1 revive then. So that is the state of play after ground control. What we'll do is we'll a little bit of decompress on that, because watching that back was stressful towards the end. Then we'll have because Luvva's not here. Luvva's not really here to share any of his thoughts. Then we'll take stock of what Luvva thought about this, because he had a few things to say. We'll look into the next challenge, and then we'll take your thoughts going into the final challenge. How does that sound, Cardinal?
Let's go there.
Let's do it. So let's take a breather from Firebreak, and let's take a step back and
let's take a fire break.
Let's put our journalist head on for a few minutes then. Mr. Luvva obviously can't be here. He's got IRL problems, which some things are more important than this podcast. He has sent through.
That isn't short for Ireland problems. Just to be clear,
just so we're clear on that one. Yeah. Yes, Luvva has kindly sent through a lot of notes regarding this. He missed the Game of the Month episode. He has since played the game, and I think I'm going to let you know a little secret here, viewers, listeners. I think Mr. Luvva enjoyed himself. If you saw our Monday night multiplayer streams on Twitch, I think Luvva enjoyed himself, and that is canon for this podcast. Anyway, what I feel is I'm going to read through some of the cliff notes here that Luvva has sent here. One of the main issues I think he has for this game is that he fears for the game's sort of longevity. I think once the fun has kind of worn off, there's only 5 missions available in this game. So I think, and my thoughts are pretty similar on this, is like once you have drank the well dry on the current content, likely he's going to sort of delete this game and never to be seen again. I don't know about yourself on that thought, Cardinal, but
I didn't know. I mean, this is the first time I played this game that level there, and I was just asking the controls as we were starting. And,
no, I get that.
Figuring it out. But, I got the idea, go in, complete a task. Felt a bit Overwatch at first to
Extraction shooter, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. I mean, like, that's what Cardinal or Luvva even goes and says, like, the replayability seems a bit non-existent. It's like every mission, despite it having a different setting, all kind of feels like you're just doing a mundane task and then being interrupted by hordes and waves of enemies, which I will agree. Like, I think for all the advertising for this game was, oh, here's the paper chase mission, here's shooting sticky notes, here's sticky note monsters. And when you're actually in the plane of the game, it was just like, I'm on the floor, I'm facing the floor, I'm running around in circles. I see where he's coming from on it. He is of the mind that it felt very beta, early access. It felt like kind of a not finished product. So he thinks that an awful lot of content drops and new game modes and stuff just to kind of let it come out from the pack of these like 3-player extraction shooters that are just kind of rife in the market at the minute. Not necessarily popular, but they're all there and they're all the same, aren't they, at the end of the day? And his main issue was with this in Control as well. He hates the map design, and he just thought that there was no way that the game makes any logistical sense as you progress through the levels. There's no guidance. You just have. Sherry made a really good point. If you can see your partner's like silhouette across the map, then you're all too far away from each other, because the one mechanic we haven't talked about is that the closer you are, your shield buff is like really good. The further you get away from that, that dispels that, and you're susceptible to damage a lot easier then in that instance.
Right. And is that lore, or is that something you work out?
No, that's just something in the game. That's just one of the game mechanics. So like the idea is like everything needs to be done in trios, and like everyone has their role, and the quicker you are doing your role, the quicker the job gets done. But if you're further away, you're not going to get the benefit of being close together, so your shields you'll not get a great shield boost.
And listeners, let me just tell you that this is the first time I've learned of this technique and buff for defensiveness, because it was not mentioned during our playthrough. But it's good to know.
For all that Luvva kind of bashed on it, there was an awful lot he did quite like. I think he did say it's very much a game that you'll play with your friends and you will have a good laugh doing it. I think his main concern is he fears for sort of the longevity of the game as such. He gave it, unsurprisingly though, a C tier. So I might add that into the game of the month lore. And it's not retconning anything. It's pretty much where I expected Luvva to put this. Pretty bang average. He also hated the mini game or the QTE for grabbing ammo and restocking and stuff like that. But it's fun was his takeaway thought on that.
Well, that's good. I'm glad he thought it was fun. I think there is fun to be had there. And I think next break I'll give my own thoughts.
Yes, I think what we'll do then is we'll get into the next mission.
We will, but right after a short name that game based on a bad synopsis, Tomahawk.
Let's do it.
Your bad synopsis this week, see if you can get it before Luvva, is you wake up in a lab, dinosaurs are loose, everything is green, and someone keeps shouting about energy levels.
Is it Dino Crisis?
You got it in one. It's Dino Crisis. Well done.
Incredible scenes. It was the I think it was the dinosaurs that give it away, possibly.
Not many dinosaur games.
Not very many. They should remake that. I don't know if anyone's called for a remake on it, but they should do that. Anyway, let's get back to Firebreak, shall we?
Let's go.
So here we are now. Yes, we are into the next round, which is the paper chase mission. This was the one where we have to eliminate the rogue sticky notes. Now, as we get further into the level, one of the contained items in control is the entity known as Sticky Ricky, who is just a sticky note monster. And once you get into the further containment levels, you have to basically electrocute him. You have to activate the sprinklers on him, and it's just, as is all of the things in Firebreak, it is just nothing but chaos then. So we'll jump forward on the gameplay here, and we'll have a quick look and see how we get on.
3, 2, 1. Let's have a look. We're 3 minutes and 12 seconds in. The levels really started in earnest. There's a lot of fire and a lot of shooting of post-it sticky notes.
This is the one Luvva had a big issue with this one, because he felt there was just an awful lot of pointing at the ground and just, wasting ammo basically on these sticky notes. Then there was an awful lot of Luvva's been downed there because he failed the mini game. So if you mispress the buttons, you get an electric shock. I also forgot that I had the electric shock kit as well, so I could have just turned that on in one hit. But so I think what you're supposed to do in this instance is use the elemental damage, like the fire damage, the electricity damage, to your advantage. You can combine the elements together. So if Luvva with his water tank can soak enemies, and I can use the shock pad to do multiple, basically it stuns them anyway, but it stuns more enemies the more that are soaked. It's a big open space, and all these sticky notes are kind of just everywhere. We didn't notice it as much in this playthrough, but if you run over the top of them, they obscure your field of vision. and if they obscure your field of vision too much, it will instantly kill your player.
Nice.
And in the later clearance levels, you can turn into your dead body will revive into a sticky note monster as well.
A sticky note monster. That sounds
So
like
there's a lot to sort of take in on this one. So there is just an awful lot at this stage, just a lot of running around and shooting. We seem to just have this all interrupted by having hordes of enemies just randomly spawn in the middle of this foyer, I suppose we'll call it. Like Luvva's running around with the water tank here. He's soaking all these sticky notes here now, and it's just, I get it. When you actually watch the gameplay back, it's not the most exciting of footage, but I kind of have an idea for the additional objective. So I'm there collecting requisition forms. I'm there collecting bits to kind of upgrade it later, because I fully intend to play this game for, like, further down the line. But yeah, we're the counters on hold as such now, and we've to dispel more of the hiss and a lot of these floating office chair telekinetic characters.
What counter is that? What counter where is telling you this information?
So we haven't got it on the edit, but if you remember correctly, on like the HUD on the top left, it gives you your objective, yes. And it'll like give you a 5,000, I think, for argument's sake, and it'll give you the total, and every batch of sticky notes is like a couple of
100. Right. Okay, so we needed to get rid of so many thousand sticky notes.
Thousands of sticky notes, and as you go into the next zone, as you go into the next clearance zones, it's like, then do 15,000, and then by the time you get to the boss in section 3, it's like 500,000. But once 500,000's done, that's the entity destroyed. So there's a lot going on. And again, the game does this incredible thing of not massively explaining what is required from the player. It is very much I suppose it's what Remedy are leaning into. They wanted to do a pick up and play, but there's only so much pick up and play you could do with no context.
Well, and it certainly was that. I didn't have to do a tutorial. I didn't have to register for anything or do a thing. I could jump in once I accepted some terms and conditions.
Exactly, yeah. But this is the laugh, though, about it, because I did gripe about this not being a tutorial or not being anything that like guides the player or at least explains what the mission parameters are, until like 2 days after release, and then they did these like YouTube video tie-ins of like really crude office. They did them as like really crude office like HR videos.
Oh,
which would have worked better had they been embedded into the game. But that's maybe just like a small gripe on my part then. So we are battering through the next horde that has appeared here. And I think at this point now we are basically we're just looking for the last of the rogue notes then as well, because I think we're at this stage now. The main foyer has kind of been cleared. It's now, can we get to the like side rooms and like the little offices and stuff as well? There seems to be an awful lot that we haven't explored. All of the fighting is contained into the main foyer at this stage.
I see. Yes, and to Sherry had a point about the blue outlines. If you see the player blue outlines, I'm standing a few meters away from people and I'm seeing blue outlines, like right there. If anyone sees it in the footage, but that's why I wouldn't. That's why I can't understand buying cosmetics really for a game where I can't see the person's cosmetics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I relied heavily on Twitch drops to like make my character stand out a little bit, but even in the throes of the gameplay, nobody can see that. Nobody can. You certainly can't see it being a first-person shooter, but at the end of the day, if you can't see it, the other players aren't going to see it, let alone notice it.
Well, Sherry is a man for a cosmetic.
Oh yes, no, absolutely. I've just noticed there as well. We were doing a lot of in between reloads, you do the little pushback, the melee attack on it, and you said it on chat, and it actually like made me laugh so hard. You just went, the melee attack doesn't do anything, does it? And it's like absolutely is the single worst melee attack I've
Oh, I
ever
tried.
experienced. I have
I
ever experienced.
does it like does it push back or like delay the attack or anything?
They'll just stun them then. So
Stun them a little bit.
I think what the idea is that you're meant to do your melee attack or you're meant to do your stun attack with your tool as such. So if you have the
Sure.
electricity, if you have the shock pad, you can charge it with. I think in the higher levels, I say like level 3 upwards, you can use left trigger to charge it, and it'll do like a big pushback, or you
Yep.
can use it to rocket ride across the level, which is quite nice in some of the other maps. Other than that, yeah, they're pretty mid. It just kind of stops the enemy in its tracks and just pushes them back a little bit or stuns them for. I suppose what you're supposed to do is stun them, electrocute them for then lava with the water tank to go and soak them and do additional radial damage. But we have completed the objective. Now I have gone and called the elevator,
Oh,
and
excellent.
I think now what we've all decided is that we need to just start stocking kills now. So I've gone to the ammo cache, which I do quite like. Depletes physical, like the actual imagery depletes
Mhm.
as you go, and me and
Yes.
Cardinal have just been decimated there by a flaming horde.
Yes, and Luvva, who's been wandering about it by himself for a few minutes here, has decided to come down to our area to see us both knocked down.
Just bagging kills. No, that's it. That's that, or dishing out as much damage as he can now. So
And he
rather than
hasn't picked us up. He's gone to pick up ammo
I
first.
remember him saying this, and he was just like, "Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to actually heal you."
Oh,
So,
that's true.
I
But
mean, I likely
he did seem to follow through with the activity, the mini game of picking up ammo until it was
oh,
finished.
it was a good couple of seconds after he realized, definitely. But again, this is another situation. Like the music hits, the extraction music hits, and everything just kind of tenses up a little bit. You can feel the ante kind of be raised a little bit, and I think at this point, you two are in the shower, but realizing that it's pumping out cold water, and I think you hear on the radio one of the character, like the voice in the chair, sort of says, "Oh, the showers don't work with cold water. You have to power them up." It's all these like in-game clues that
I,
they don't highlight to you. So you could
I
like be sitting in that shower for like 5 minutes and your health won't go up, but unless you turn the shower on as such, then you get the benefits from it. But again, the game doesn't highlight that.
well, I was playing it with the sound of your voices coming through the TV, which quietens the game volume, so I didn't hear that. But this is good to know. Looking back,
This is it.
It's-
We're all learning. So we've all but cleared this area now. The lift doors are shut.
the lift doors are
Oh
shut,
no!
and
And then
then
I decide to open the lift doors again because a horde has just appeared, and I thought, what better way to bag some more kills? And I think Cardinal Smith, you must have decided enough is enough on paper chase. So that is challenge 2. Excuse me, locked
it
in, done and
is.
dusted. We'll have a quick wrap of the scores here then and just see where we stand on that one then. So looking like Cardinal Smith ended up with 35.417k of damage. Tomahawk 77.865k of damage. And Mr. Luvva ending up with 78.865k of damage. And Mr. Luvva ending up in 56.932k of damage. So again, this is probably just has played it more, has figured the game out, the loadouts and stuff slightly better. But I'm bagging the win in this one again. Revives, I ended up with 2. Luvva ended up in 3, and Cardinal Smith yourself ended up with 1 revival. So still a bit to play for. We still have one more challenge to go through. We still have one more that you could take it all if you kill every single enemy in the next
Let's not be
challenge.
silly.
What we'll
Let's
do is we'll take a quick break from this. We'll gather ourselves, and I want to get some thoughts from yourself about this game,
good. I
and we'll
good.
sort of we'll have a little bit of discussion about that before we get into hot fix.
Okay.
That is us with Paper Chase. We have one more challenge to go, but before we do, Cardinal, I want to get So your final thoughts on this game, like your overall thoughts on FBC Firebreak and where you stand. You weren't there for Game of the Month. You've had a bit of experience on it now. Positives, negatives. Where are we sort of standing on this game? Then the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, I think I got to start with the positives of it. It seems it's quite polished in what it does. The simple things is that it is a shooter, co-op with a sort of overall activity and difficulties that you need to do across 5 different level games, and it does it, and it achieves that well. It seems smooth and runs well, and looks good.
Yeah,
These are that's like a major thing to tick right there.
Pretty standard stuff, but they've nailed it, I think.
Yeah, and it's the simple. Is the gameplay good? Yes. Right, so that's a good start.
This is it. Like, I think one of the compliments that we got when we did Monday Night Multiplayer, there's a lot of people who went, I have no idea what this game is, but it looks excellent. I think it just like looks great, and it gripped a lot of people. I think they had no idea what Control was. They had no idea what like the universe it's set in was. But I think a viewer is really impressed by what was seen.
Yeah.
And that has to be taken into account, definitely.
Absolutely. And now I think broader scope, for me, the game is a bit light on content.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm agreeing with Luvva and yourself in that respect. Just there's not many levels, and then when I go deeper into that, as a new player jumping in first time, I don't really know what those game modes mean, and I'm not really able to see or understand what the objective is, unless I'm following someone or someone's telling me.
Yeah, you need it guided, basically.
There's only 3 classes as such, which okay, I guess is fine because it's a 3-player co-op. But I would like a bit of variety, maybe mix and match of different classes and opportunities or key weapons to for different dynamics and replayability. UI, I find it difficult to follow. I didn't know where I think I highlighted it in the first level where there was just an icon that was just there, like a little circle in a box, and I had no idea what it meant, and I was just looking at it. I don't know what to follow. There's no explanation. I'll keep going. There is no explanation on anything at all, and I've already touched on the cosmetics because I think that's part of the that's where they're going to make their money on the microtransactions, and that's fine. I like that you have the opportunity to take all of John Sherry's money because he will give it to you. Game devs offer cosmetics.
He's part of the problem. This is it, though. He day ones these things. He ultra editions them, and when they tank after 2 weeks, he refuses to take the refund.
I don't mind your boy Sherry getting the cosmetics. It's the pre-ordering everything under the sun, and then being the death nail if he really likes it.
It has a vibe of like, as we talk about how the game doesn't really explain anything, expects you just to kind of know it. It's a very Scandinavian way of thinking. Like I find this in like, when you sort of see Scandinavian like cop shows, they kind of expect you to know the metaphors in which they're talking about, and everything is kind of like a bit elevated. And I feel as if they tried to do this with Firebreak, and it hasn't quite hit the mark. I like to be held by the hand with lore and context and exposition and stuff like that. I think that just makes this media, like the gaming, work so well, and it's lost, really. If I didn't know this was made by Remedy, if I didn't, like, they could have just called this Firebreak, scrap the Bureau control like precursor. This could just be a random extractor shooter set anywhere with any characters, with any generic bad guy. Like, you take away Control, you take away Remedy, it could just be, you could slap any old title on this one, if that makes sense.
Well, one thing that I think about when we say that we're spoilt for choice with like looter shooters and extraction shooters and things like that, co-op shooters, We are, and there's a lot of fully fleshed out games out there, and there have
Yeah,
been for a decade or 2 decades long. And like, if I think back to, it's not PlayStation. Sorry, I know we're a PlayStation podcast, but we're also the internet's only gaming podcast. So if
sure.
I think back to Team Fortress 2, this was a game back in the day, a couple of decades ago, that had many characters, types of different roles and their own weapons, with many different game modes and many different levels and map designs. I think forwards, I'm starting to think of Overwatch in the mid 2010s. Is Overwatch 2 a real game? That's the same game. I don't
Yeah,
understand.
exactly.
But again, it's multiple characters, multiple maps, game modes, things like this. The Division added in like an extraction, like the excursions as part of it, but it was like a side
It was.
bonus
It
game.
wasn't necessarily part of the main game. Yeah,
It wasn't, but it was just like a side mode that you could do and enjoy. This feels just like a side game in terms of content level, and I would like to, even if there, I'm not going to suggest what it should have. I'm not what I just feel it should have more. And I can't complain too much because it's been released free on PS Plus.
Exactly,
Okay,
that's it.
and I could just
it's
hop
a funny
in and
one.
play.
Like exactly, like we're in this stage where we're critiquing it like it's going offline tomorrow, but
no, yeah,
that's it. Like it has a fan base,
and it should do, and I hope it does because I feel like it's somewhat early access in terms of that aspect and the explanation and the UI, but what it does at the core level of the gameplay, that's what they've done well.
Yeah. Before we get into our final mission, where is it going on the tier list? Where would you put it?
Right now, it's a C.
Right now, it's a C. That's fair. I think everyone's pretty aligned. Like I had it sitting at B tier. I think it's doing enough for me that with Remedy, with Control, with everything that it ties into, I'm a super geek for. I love it. Long may it continue. Closing thoughts. Done. Let's get into our final.
Just before we go, your final name that game based on the bad synopsis.
Let's do it.
You're a young adult with excellent quips and insurance premiums. You fight crime by somersaulting into people and taking selfies.
Is that Dead Rising?
Not quite. You're a young adult with excellent quips. You take selfies and somersault a lot.
It's either Sunset Overdrive or it's the rhythm game that I can't remember the name of.
And you fight crime.
Nope, it's
on
gone.
The PS4.
It's gone. Completely gone from my head. Don't know.
You wear a special suit.
I'm further away now. I have no idea, Cardinal. Sorry.
You're in the Marvel universe.
Is it Spider-Man?
Yes. It's a bad synopsis, son.
It was such a bad synopsis.
Let's move on from that.
Let's get into hot fix. I think we should wrap this one up here. So yes, this is our last challenge. We are in the hot fix mission. The premise of this one basically is to just fix the fans, cool the furnace, stop the furnace from going into overload, and in turn destroying the bureau and everything in it. Then, so Cardinal, let's hit play. Let's have a look at the gameplay. We've all switched kits again. So
3, 2, 1, go.
Cardinal is now in the water tank. I've taken the wrench, and Luvva has taken the shock pad in this instance. Then, so as we jump into the gameplay, we have all been downed. The incredible part about this one is that everything's on fire. Everything wants to blow up and kill you. There is an awful lot of environmental damage in play here. So the water cannon becomes quite the important piece of kit in this mission, at least anyway.
Yes. Okay. And that's good to know because I've been given the water cannon and I'm down. But hey, we all got to learn sometime, right? All three of us are down.
Luvva did argue that he thought the water cannon was really a nuisance and a hindrance, but For some reason, he seemed to be the only one who didn't have the upgrade of the hand crank. So if
Yeah.
you hold the left trigger, you prime the water cannon, and then when you hold right trigger, it shoots it as like rapid fire. And I don't think
Right.
anybody noticed this. I don't think anybody really acted on this as well. But yeah, it makes getting rid of the mass fire throughout this mission a lot easier to dispel, and makes a lot of enemies, because a lot of the enemies are on fire in this instance as well. So yeah, it definitely helps to have. And again, this lends into the you grind the early levels to get the good gear. And once the good gear comes into your loadout, it makes your gameplay and it makes everything that little bit easier and more enjoyable in that instance. Then, so we have what we call now, we're fighting this like camouflaged, invisible bat type creature. I think what they call it is an elevated hiss. So they seem to have standard hiss, which just possesses normal people. We have elevated hiss, which attacks other folk, like, like buffs them, and then you have the tanks after that.
Yes. Okay.
So yeah, a lot of this is fire and a lot of death and destruction in this one. So there's an awful lot of mini games of like fixing the generators, and then we have to fix the generators. You go in and fix the fans on this one. We did struggle and get bogged down an awful lot with this creature. This seemed to be an awful problem for us, and our low level weaponry up until that point was not doing an awful lot of damage here.
And it just seems to float and appear from nowhere.
It did.
In
It did.
amongst different hordes as well. To be honest, I was just following you guys around in this level, kind of wondering what you were doing.
That's it. So we are 6 minutes roughly in the actual gameplay itself. We have completed the objective now, so we have the
Nice.
we have the queue to leave, and it's a bomb rush back to the elevator. Now we have our hard or tough enemy, I suppose that they call it. We have Bruno Johnson chasing us down now, and basically now we are
Like
getting
Bruno.
ourselves back to our choke point at the elevator, so we can get get everything extracted.
Indeed, indeed. And then finally I find the shower thing to heal, which heals. Okay. And I think you just stay here and try and hide in the shower while shooting bad guys. This
Yeah.
is fine.
Like it is pretty much like this lends to Luvva's like point about the map design. It's like you're kind of at multiple different levels and tiers here, so we're kind of just having to figure out where we're at. But we're all at the lift point here now, and I don't think anyone's called it at this stage. But I feel as if like the lift won't come down until most of the enemies have been dispelled. But because we set up we set up one of the safe houses, it's thrown me back to the opposite side of the map now. And now I think the same for Luvva as well. So now we are stuck with Cardinal is on his own at the elevator, and it's now down to us to kind of fight our way back to you. But you've come in with a water cannon coming in clutch here and shooting Luvva for good measure, it seems, as well, with friendly fire being switched off as well.
Well, at this stage of the challenge, I know that friendly fire just isn't tracked in the scores, because the only scores that end are tracked are kills and kill damage done and amount of revives. So
that's it. I like the idea of these games not having friendly fire in them, like very Helldivers-esque, but it's not a metric.
Spoils us.
It's not a metric that's tracked as well. So, and we've had basically we're all at this point now. If we know where the hordes are coming from, we have another powerful enemy inbound, and basically we're told to hold the line until the elevator appears. Then, and for as bullet spongy as some of these enemies are, they, for as many as show up, they go down quite easily, and you can rack up an awful lot of kills and damages and points that way as well. So,
I notice you are doing a lot of damage to this boss at this stage.
Yeah, so I picked up like a tier 1 machine gun, which I thought was quite handy. But like as you go tier 1, it's like rudimentary. It breaks down a lot of jams or something like that. The way the game describes it.
Yeah,
But then you get a tier 2, which is what they describe as competent. And then a tier 3 I actually haven't had yet. So I think they're like the special, they're like what the special ops teams, I suppose, would have it in this instance then. But
I
um,
see.
the weapons loadouts are varied. Some of them are a little OP, even for being like tier 1. I think this machine gun at tier 1 is very OP.
Nice. What am I doing? I seem to be picking up things. So I've started picking up things that glow orange.
Oh yes, so this is like in Helldivers fashion. It's like the requisitions, and like you
Right.
can use you get these as like your rewards when you level up, and you can use them to like purchase new abilities or new perks or buffs for your classes. So all the classes are leveled up individually, not as a group, which is an
Okay.
interesting which is a really interesting mechanic, but a bit means the grind is a lot harder in that instance then. And then as you get into the higher difficulties, you can pick up. So each level has samples specific to that level, and you can use the samples to perk up as well. There's a lot of mechanics to kind of drive home on in this one, but the elevator has been called. The elevator is there, but we are all
We
too
are all still.
keen.
We're not in the elevator. Let me tell you
Nope,
that.
we are all too keen to get some kills here and get some last minute points on the board now. So I think we've cleared the room, and Luvva has decided that he's not going to. Now, what's really funny
Tomahawk
about this,
says we're all keen to get kills. I'm following these guys. All right, I'm being
that,
led on a merry chase. Is what's
so
happening.
the laugh is we keep saying to ourselves that we're done, and then you see the red glow, and then Luvva goes and disappears, and he's off doing his own thing. Now the game does this incredible thing, similar to like Back for Blood and Left 4 Dead, is like if you're further away from your players, like the AI director will like punish you for it. So rather than send a horde to where everyone else is, they'll send a horde to where you are to try and push you back in the direction that you need to go.
I see.
And
Okay.
it's brutal. You get absolutely punished for it now. So I think at this point we are trying to make our way back to the elevator. We're starting to get a little bit bogged down, a little bit boxed in at this point now. Cardinal going in for the last dash, grab of ammo.
I figure we need it if we're backing towards this elevator. We seem to be holding out. It's like a last stand.
We're watching it with that audio, just for the purpose of the edit here and stuff. But oh my god, the actual like how tense it gets, man! It was tense at this stage. And now we've closed the lift, but we can't extract because we have brought one of the hiss into the lift with us. Love has been pinged slightly out of the confines of the elevator, so he has like a free hit on this guy. But we've been downed essentially, and we're not having a great time of it.
Not
I
a great time.
genuinely thought we broke the game at this point, but it turns out that you can't extract if these enemies are in the lift with you.
And the problem was that Luvva also Luvva runs out of ammo, which is not great. But somehow we've downed the enemy, but we've opened the lift doors.
I think that's what I had said to Luvva, was basically just to open the door and we try and glitch him back through. But the door, so if you I noticed this in later gameplays, if you overdo it with the lift switch, you can break the lift switch and you have to repair it before you can extract.
Oh my goodness.
So looking at that, then that is hotfix finished off then. Cardinal, you finished with 43.8k worth of damage. Luvva on 97.039k of damage, and I finished off with 146.647k worth of damage. Me and Luvva shared 2 revives apiece, and Cardinal, good showing there, good reviving specialties there with 3 revives for that challenge. Then that is our Firebreak challenge done and dusted. Then shall we take a quick break up here, and we'll have a look at what that does to the scores and what that does for the league table then.
Let's go find out.
So that is Firebreak done and dusted. We can put that one away in the backlog. That is perfect. Let us have a bit of a deep dive at these scores here. So we're tracking damage. So it'll be 3, 2, 1 points as per the norm. And we're going to get a bonus point doled out for the most revives throughout then. So if you've been keeping track, we'll do the bonus point first. We ended up with, Cardinal, you ended up with 5 revives over the 3 matches.
Okay.
Mr. Luvva ended up with 7 revives over the 3 matches, and I am taking the bonus point home, a much needed bonus point at this stage, with 8 revives. In terms of who gets the 1, 2, 3 points, then Cardinal Smith, sadly in this instance, you are going home with a single point.
Son of a gun.
It is slightly, I feel bad for you having only played it that night, but that is how it falls in this instance then.
I've done a sherry, a one and done.
A one and done. Also done another, basically a one and done. Mr. Luvva, he is coming home with the 2 points in this instance. But for me, I am kicking off my season 5 with my first challenge win. I'm taking home the 3 points and I'm taking the bonus point home. I am having a great day, especially when it comes to playing Firebreak. Then what does that mean for the league table? I hear the avid listener and avid watcher asking. Nothing's changed in league placement, but in third place on 8 points now is me, Tomahawk. Second place, Cardinal Smith, won 9 points. And first place, closing the gap. Everyone's closing the gap anyway. Mr. Luvva is still in our lead at the minute with 12 points.
It's
Firebreak.
Tight.
It is very tight. We can put Firebreak to bed. Would you play it again, though, Cardinal Smith, is the question before we get to the wrap-up.
Give it a year's time to add some content.
A few content drops and a few events. I think we could be onto a little bit of a winner here. Now, I think go back and play Control. Go play Alan Wake. This will all make sense to you. That's all I'll say. That's my hot take.
I've never played Control. I've never played Alan Wake. So there you go. There's the plan. In the meantime, show me a quarterly roadmap. Thank you.
Indeed. You know what, though? I'd love to see it. I think Firebreak is onto something really, really cool. I just think it needs the love and attention and care. And as I say, an event or a few drops or a few game mode updates, who knows? A year down the line, we could be re-reviewing this. Yeah. Next week, our challenge game is Rematch, another early access PlayStation title. We are going to be diving into football Rocket League style. I can't wait for this one. It's going to be an absolute blast now. So keep an eye on that one next week for that challenge episode then. So I think that's all that is left to do is a little bit of housekeeping, and we are done and dusted for the day.
Yeah, I just want to say check us out playing new released games.
Look at us. Wow. We are a finger on the pulse. We are doing things we never thought we'd be doing on High Scores, High Stakes. This is absolutely incredible. This is all scenes of which I've never seen the like of which. But let's get the housekeeping done. Let's put this episode to bed. Then if you have enjoyed what you have listened to and watched, please do consider giving us a like, a follow, a subscribe, a 5-star rating on the platform of your choice. It helps with all the visibility. As Luvva likes to say, 80% of you are listening to this on your phones, so you have no excuse. If you haven't, please do give this podcast a share with a family member, a friend, even your enemies. All exposure is good exposure for this, and we love to see it. We appreciate everyone who has eyes and ears on this podcast and tells people about it.
Absolutely.
And if you want to see what else we are doing on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, go to highscoreshighstakes.com. That is the best place to find us then. Cardinal, it's been a pleasure talking about Firebreak. We can finally put this one to bed. In the meantime, I have been Tomahawk. This has been High Scores, High Stakes. See you next week. Take care. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.